Hey everyone, it's me again. Since I had some time, I thought I'd make another video and quickly talk about character sheets, just to give everyone an idea of what everything is. So let's look at the wizard. So first thing here, this is basically your bio and info area. I didn't put any bio notes, but this is sort of where your character portrait would go. You should be able to edit it. So you can name it here, change the name. You wouldn't have any of these options. I get special stuff because I'm the DM, and you can do stuff with your token. Again, I think that's just me. But basically, this is for your name. So you put your name in, you save character, and boom. All right, so the character sheet is a little more complicated. We'll start at core. There's 3 sections. So up here, this is your name again. This should reflect what you have in here. This is your class, which is basically your specialty, like a wizard. For example, this is a evocation level 5 wizard is what Gordy is. So he's a wizard who specialized in evocation magic. Evocation is the study of force magic, fire magic, basically magic meant to destroy in many cases, though not always. This is your background. Gordy was an entertainer before he became a wizard. He did a lot of singing, dancing, putting on shows for people. You usually can pick this sort of thing when you're creating your character. I just gave this to Gordy because I thought it was interesting flavor. Race, he's a standard human. I think you're all humans for this campaign. There are other races you can choose from, but I went with human to keep things easy. Your alignment is sort of your view on the world. There's two parts to it. Your first part is how you view society, and your second part is how you kind of view the individual. So the first part is lawful, neutral, or chaotic. Are you more organized? Do you believe in law and order? Are you more kind of not maybe disorganized would be one word, but kind of a loner? Do you feel that you do better on your own? Do you feel that society kind of is restrictive and bad for the individual? Then you're probably more chaotic. The other side is good, neutral, and evil. Are you a good person? Do you care about other people? Do you want to see everyone happy and successful? Are you neutral, which is sort of in the middle? Or are you evil, kind of more selfish, out for yourself, trying to look out for number one over any type of, good of other individuals? So those are the 2 parts. In this case, Gordy is lawful neutral. He is very much into being structured into a society of laws that protect people. And on the other side of things, he's neutral. He's not necessarily a charitable person, but he's not just out for himself. He sort of falls in the middle. You don't have to worry about experience points. It's more complicated for leveling up and becoming more powerful. So here are your ability scores. These are measures of your character's aptitude in certain areas. Strength is pretty self-explanatory. How strong you are, how much you can lift, how much you can drag. When you punch, how hard you punch. Certain weapons, most melee weapons use strength when dealing damage. The stronger you are, the harder you hit things with weapons. Dexterity is kind of agility, acrobatics, how nimble you are. Those who are dexterous are generally better at dodging, better at getting through tight areas quicker, better at using ranged weapons, which rely more on aim than on brute force. And certain other weapons, like rapier, short sword, dagger, smaller weapons, dexterity is what you use instead of strength to be more effective. Your constitution is it's basically how healthy you are. It measures how much punishment you could take. If you get sick, it measures how severely you get sick, how long it takes you to recover. If you avoid sickness altogether. Constitution is a very important stat for almost every character. It's not very interesting, but being able to survive longer is always good because it means that you might take a few more hits before dying. Constitution also affects your hit points. Higher Constitution will give you more hit points. Intelligence is pretty much what you'd think. It's your book smarts, your ability to learn, process information, and it will affect your ability. In this case, it affects a wizard's ability to cast spells. Being more intelligent makes your spells more powerful and makes it easier to learn them. It gives you more info. So if you are trained in history or arcana or various intellectual pursuits, higher intelligence will mean you'll be more successful at those sort of things. Wisdom is like intelligence, but it's more applied knowledge, street smarts. Basically, it protects you from a lot of charms and incantations that will affect your mind. With high wisdom, you'll be able to shrug those off. It's more important for things like priests who rely on wisdom for spellcasting. And your charisma is just your strength of personality. So being charismatic means people are more likely to listen to you, and you're much more effective when speaking with people, when lying, when performing, and just general interactions with people or other creatures even will be more successful if you have high charisma. So in this case, yeah, Gordy's the character of Gordy is not very charismatic. These are your saving throws. These are used to defend against certain powerful effects. You would roll these when under the influence of magic or when something very dangerous is happening and you're trying to avoid it. So they correspond to your ability scores. They also are more powerful depending on your class. So wizards are really good at intelligence and wisdom saving throws. So basically, I may ask you during the game, give me a con save or give me a dex save or a int save. You would basically just click on one of these and then look over here and it tells you what you rolled. So here I rolled pretty crappy 5, but I do have +7 because I'm a wizard, so 12 is still a decent saving throw. These are your skills. These are fun. You use these to get past various challenges within the game. Skills are a resource that are unique to each character, and as I said, they are used to help you deal with various obstacles that you come upon. So, for instance, acrobatics, maybe there's a rope going across a chasm, boulders coming towards you, and you go, oh god, I gotta get across this rope quick. So you attempt to tightrope walk. You'd roll an acrobatics check. In this case, Gordy did pretty well. This wizard can balance on ropes. Just an example. Animal handling, you're being rushed by a bear. I want to do something to make the bear calm down. All right, give me animal handling. Arcana is a study of magic. You make Arcana checks whenever you're trying to figure out something magical or you're confronted with something magical and trying to defeat it through maybe games of knowledge. Athletics, pretty straightforward. You're lifting things, you're swimming, you're doing anything that would be considered athletic. Deception is trying to trick others, trying to lie to them. History is knowledge of history, and if you're trying to figure out, maybe some obscure knowledge from the past, you do that. Insight is trying to read another person to see if they're lying to you, what their motives are when they speak. So it's good if you are going to be encountering a lot of individuals and trying to take stock of them. Intimidation is basically you're using Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You're trying to intimidate someone through words. It's not necessarily intimidate through physical force, but more, just kind of threatening or using your personality to make them think that something bad might happen if they don't do things your way. Investigation is, like Sherlock Holmes. You're trying to figure out what happened, reading an environment for clues. So if there was a murder, you might use investigation to look around the room and say, this dagger is in this position, which means this, and this could have happened. Medicine is trying to treat people who are in distress medically, as well as get information on the nature of wounds and the information of what something's hit points are. Nature is knowledge of nature, similar to knowledge of arcana. Perception is spotting things, so it's like investigation, but instead of looking to figure out what happened somewhere, you're looking to notice things. So, for example, if someone is sneaking up on you, your perception would protect you from being sneak attacked or ambushed. Performance is putting on a show, such as singing, dancing, is doing things to entertain others. Persuasion is your ability to be persuasive when speaking. It's not using intimidation or lying or being deceptive, but just straightforward talking to someone and being like, "Hey, this is why I think we should do this, and you should agree with me," and how likely you are to convince them. Religion is knowledge of religious events and just knowledges of the different religions of the world in general. The D&D world has many different gods and religions. Each have their own mythos, and religion helps you navigate that. Sleight of hand is using dexterity to try to pocket or palm something, to steal from someone, or just to do a trick, make a card disappear. Stealth is kind of what it implies. You're using the environment to hide yourself. To do stealth, you need to be under cover or in concealment. But if you have one of those things going, you can make yourself almost invisible to people around you. Survival is reading the landscape and being able to survive in nature. So, finding food, finding your way through the darkness, navigating the landscape, just all those things. Being able to find a good hiding spot or a good campsite, all that's survival. So your passive perception, if you remember we talked perception up here, your ability to see things, this is always in effect. So if there is something with a difficulty of 12 or below, this character will see it. The higher this is, the more likely you are to just see things as you're moving through the game world. You probably will have to remind me what this is, because I will forget what all your passive perceptions are. So you might want to remind me every now and then, like, say like, hey, my passive perception is, if it's high. I mean, if it's like 12 isn't that high, but if you have like a 15 or over, you probably want to remind me in new areas what it is, because you might see things others won't. So tools are generally used to do an assortment of things. In this instance, a disguise kit is used to disguise yourself, pretty straightforward. And bagpipes are used to play music. So you can click on those for a disguise kit. Usually that is intelligence or wisdom. So we'll say intelligence for this. 14, pretty good roll. Well, bad roll, but good modifier. So I did a pretty good job there. Same thing with the bagpipes. These are the languages you speak. Pretty straightforward. If you see these languages, you can understand them. These are the weapons that you are proficient with. So proficiency, and this applies to other aspects. So these checks mean you have proficiency bonus in these certain things, which are determined when making your character. You can choose, like, for example, what skills you want to be proficient in. Saving throws are just based on your class, but weapon proficiencies are also kind of based on your class. So proficiency bonus, seen here, is a +3. So when you're proficient in something, you get an extra +3 to doing it. And this is based on your level. So at level 5, the proficiency bonus is +3. So usually your skills and just rolls in general are based on two things, which are the modifiers. I'll take intelligence save, for example. When you roll an intelligence save, you look at your intelligence modifier, which is +4 right here. Then you look at your proficiency modifier, because the checkbox means you're proficient, so it's +3. So you have a +7 total to making rolls involving intelligence. Same thing with wisdom. Wisdom you can see is 2, and the 3 is 5. Acrobatics, as you see in parentheses, uses dex. So we'll see dex is 2, and you're proficient, so that's 3. Ala 5. Arcana 7, 4 plus 3, 7. You get the idea. So that's how you determine most of your skills in the game. You take the modifier of your ability. So 18 is a 4 modifier, 14 is a 2, 14 is a 2. And then if you're proficient, you add the +3. So same thing with here. If you attack with a dart, because you're proficient, dart would use dexterity, which in this case is +2, and then you get a proficiency modifier, so +5 if you were attacking with a dart. And just some math stuff in case you're wondering how your bonuses are generated. So you're proficient when using all these weapons. Any of those weapons, if you use them, you will get the +3 added to whatever the relative or the correct modifier is, which for many of these would be dex. Daggers, dex, darts, dex, light crossbows, dex, etc. Armor class. So your armor class is the number creatures have to beat to hit you with a melee weapon or a ranged weapon. So if something attacks you, it rolls a d20, and it will add its modifier to that roll. And if it rolls a 12 or over, it would hit you. If it rolls an 11 or under, it would miss you. 12 is not a very good AC. It's very easy to hit someone with a 12. So generally, this character would not want to be in the front because he would be hit a lot. Your initiative is added to your d20 roll when a battle starts, and that determines when you get to act in the combat round. Your speed is how quickly you can move in a round. As part of your move action, you can move up to your speed, which in this case is 30 feet. There's also an action called the dash action, which allows you to take a second move in a round. So if you move 30 feet and then dash, you can actually move another 30 feet. So you'd move 60 feet that round, but you wouldn't get to attack or do any of your other actions. So yeah, just a little lesson there. Hit points. This is a measure, an abstract measure of the kind of your luck, your physical endurance, and your health all put together. So as long as you have hit points, you are alive. You're using hit points to dodge. You're using hit points to take glancing blows. You're using hit points to dive out of the way. So every time you're hit, you lose some hit points, which in-game can be anything, as I said, from a glancing blow to you just jumping sideways at the right time to not get blown to pieces by a fireball. But once your hit points hit 0, you fall unconscious and you are in danger of dying. So if someone doesn't help you once you hit 0, you might die. So you want to keep these above 0. That's very important. Temp hit points are a mechanic of the game where you can add like I don't want to say fake hit points, but it adds like temporary hit points. So it's like a shield almost of extra hit points, which can be done with certain spells and other abilities. Hit dice are used to heal yourself. If you take a rest, you can short rest. You can spend hit dice to gain back hit points. That's more complicated. We can talk about that if you have to rest. So these are death saves. If you go below 0 or if you hit 0, you start to roll death saves. If you get 3 failures, your character dies and is gone. If you get 3 successes, you stabilize, and you are no longer in danger, but you're still unconscious on the ground. These are your macros. Generally, you use these when attacking your foes. So if you're casting a Firebolt, or casting a Burning Hands, these will be different depending on your class, but for example, these are some basic stuff a wizard can do. And I kind of covered this in my last video. These are your items along with your treasure. So your personality traits come from your background. You can usually choose these, but I just generated them. So you can look at those to see what things your character values, some bonds, and some of their flaws. These are your resources. You generally use these, you get them depending on your class. Arcane Recovery is one of the wizard's abilities. He gets to do this once per day during a short rest. He can gain back some spells. And these are your powers, which are based on your class, sometimes your race, and sometimes other things. But you can click on them to open them up. And then you probably should read these over because these are important. So for example, ritual casting is something a wizard can do. If one of your spells is the ritual tag, you don't actually have to use a prepared, you don't have to use one of your spell slots to cast it. You can take 10 minutes and cast it as a ritual, which is really nice for certain spells if you want to save your resources, as wizards can only use a certain amount of spells per day, then they are out of luck. Arcane Recovery is an ability to regain some of your spell slots if you do a short rest. And these will all be different depending on your class, so I recommend reading those over. Bio, this is a place where you can record your backstory, certain larger treasures that you don't have room for in your, or that aren't coins, just notes in general. This all goes in this section. Character descriptions too, so you want to fill this out so you know what your character looks like, and you can describe yourself to your allies. And spells, if you are a spellcaster, this area is relevant. Cantrips, you can do as many times a day as you like, so these are unlimited. All of these can be done as much as you want. Spell slots, you can only use a certain amount of times per day. This is the max you have per day, which in this case would be 4. So after you cast 4 first level spells, you are out and you can cast no more first level spells until you do a long rest to regain these. Same with level 2 and level 3 spells. So as a wizard, and generally as a spellcaster, unless you're a warlock, you want to be really careful about your spell usage, because you only have so much of that resource per day. They're powerful, but they're very limited. Spellcasting ability uses intelligence. I kind of talked a little bit about that. So for wizards, you would use your intelligence modifier, and you probably don't have to worry about all this because this the macros kind of do this for you. But you can ask me about this stuff if you want. Alright, so that should be good. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you all later.